Motion carried. Item 3 is to approve our consent calendar, which is minutes of the previous meeting and payment of bills.
So move.
Second?
Motion by Ron, second by Mary. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 4, is Katie on?
I am. Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Katie.
Perfect. Thank you so much for letting me join you this evening. Gerald, am I able to share my screen?
You will as soon as I say you can. Hold on a sec.
Perfect.
All right, you should be good.
All right. Give me a quick second. Are you all seeing my starting slide here, Staples findings and recommendations?
We are, Katie.
Perfect. All right. So like I said, thank you so much for letting me join you this evening. For those of you I haven't met already, I'm Katie Hepner, the Executive Director of the Economic Alliance. We are the nonprofit that does economic development for Wadena County. Tonight, I'm here to talk a little bit about the 2020 Wadena County Housing Study, more specifically, the City of Staples findings and recommendations. Some quick background on the study. After an RFP process in June, Wadena County selected Community Partners Research to conduct a county-wide housing study. The study included analysis of the cities of Monaga, Sebeka, Staples, Ferndale, and Wadena, as well as a county-wide summary. The study was funded by Wadena County with some smaller grants from Sourcewell and Minnesota Power. This is a point that I really wanted to stress. You know, the working group that was helping the county with this, we really didn't want this to be a pay-to-play type situations for the cities. We wanted all the cities in the county to be able to have access to high quality, comprehensive housing data to help moving forward. The methodology used by Community Partners Research is listed here. As you can see, it's a lot of different data sources, but what I really want to stress is even though 2020 was a weird year, they still made a priority to have some boots on the ground, so to speak, in Staples and throughout Wadena County. They had interviews with some elected officials and staff from cities. They talked to community leaders, and they did a drive-through windshield survey of many of the communities. So they weren't just looking at Wadena County as, you know, this far off place on a GIS map. They were physically here, which I think enhances the level and accuracy of the study. In the Staples subreport, which I believe is in your council packet this evening, there's several sections. It's a big, long, almost 100-page document. What I'm going to be talking about tonight is the findings and recommendations. If any of you are going through and looking at the other data sections and want to have a one-on-one discussion with me over Zoom on that, I'd be more than happy to make time and talk through that if you're interested. But now I'm just going to dive right into findings and recommendations, which is broken down into 4 main sections. The first is home ownership recommendations, then rental housing recommendations, housing rehab and preservation, and other initiatives. Diving right into home ownership recommendations, the first, there's a projected demand for 4 to 5 owner-occupancy units annually in Staples. Since 2010, Staples has been averaging an annual growth of approximately 7 to 8 households per year. The study projects that growth-generated demand will result in the need for at least 50 to 60 additional housing units in Staples. If 20 to 35% of the near-term demand will be for owner occupancy, Staples should need 15 to 23 additional single-family units. So going forward to the year 2025, an achievable goal would be about 4 to 5 additional single-family units per year. Most of the expected demand will be within that moderate to higher price segment, representing trade-up home buyers. But there is some additional demand for the affordable entry-level segment, about 1 to 2 units annually. The second recommendation is to promote attached single-family housing construction. So based on the available building permit reports, it does not appear that any attached housing construction for owner occupancy has occurred in Staples for more than a decade. A subdivision that had been platted for twin homes went through the tax forfeiture process and is now city owned, as I'm sure you're all aware. The 2025 projections indicate that more than 50% of all households in Staples will be age 55 or older, and this age group has historically been a primary target market for twin homes. So with the overall ownership demand at 20 to 25 units over the 5-year period, attached single-family construction should reach 4 to 6 total units. Most of the attached unit construction is expected to occur in more moderate price ranges. And in 2020, there are lots available for twin homes in Staples. The third recommendation is to promote the lot options in the city and monitor lot supply. So based on information obtained from the city, there is a limited vacant lot supply for detached single-family home construction. The Valley View subdivision has an estimated inventory of 7 lots. There may also be some remnant lots, infill parcels, and redevelopment sites that would be suitable for home construction. And the city has not had more than 2 single-family housing starts in a year since 2007. So if the projected goal of 4 to 6 single-family house starts per year is achieved, this would result in the need for up to 13 vacant lots to meet the near-term demand. The current inventory in 2020 is not adequate to meet this possible demand, and some additional lot development may need to begin in 2021. Given recent experience and the slow lot absorption in Staples, it is doubtful that a private developer will proceed. This is just the perception of community partners research. But instead, the city should look for other options, including the use of city-owned twin home lots and offering additional incentives or initiatives for home construction. The fourth recommendation is to consider the creation of housing construction incentives. Since 2008, the city has been averaging approximately 1 new single-family housing start per year. At the time of the study, 1 single-family house was permitted in 2020 and appears to be spec construction. The house was still listed for sale in the MLS at the time this report was being written. It had once been listed at approximately $270,000, and then the asking price was brought down to $260,000. Unsure if after this report was written if that house did sell. Going forward, a higher level of production is achievable, but proactive efforts may be needed to attract this larger market share. So a past successful approach used by other communities is to offer some type of financial assistance for new construction. This could include a waiver of municipal fees for building permits or water sewer connections. If allowable, some cities have used property tax abatement or TIF programs to pay for improvement costs. Others have used a direct cash incentive, such as a down payment assistance program. And they always love to throw in, please consult your attorney before moving forward with any incentives to make sure they meet that public purpose test. The fifth recommendation is to promote affordable new construction partnership. So once again, they're bringing up that twin subdivision that was acquired through the tax forfeiture process. There's also a possibility that additional single-family detached lots may go through tax forfeiture in the future. The projections used for this study do expect some demand for affordable home construction. This demand will probably be 1 to 2 homes per year. So to generate more affordable new home construction, some communities have teamed up with nonprofit groups to build new homes. There's an example that's listed in your report of the City of Frazee working with MMCDC. They also recommend that you monitor the activity plan for Wadena, where a market rate plan is being used. If this is successful in Wadena, it could potentially be replicated in Staples as well. 6 additional strategies to encourage lot sales and new home construction. I'm not going to read through all of these because they're fairly self-evident. The only one I really want to highlight is this user-friendly piece. This includes having an inventory of lots, having builders that are readily available to build custom homes, and city regulations that are fair and reasonable. The entire process should be as user-friendly as possible, meaning if someone wants to buy and build in Staples, they don't have to get tripped up with anything, and they're able to roll along nice and smooth. The 7th recommendation is to promote the affordable existing housing stock in the city. So the home values in the Wadena County portion of Staples are generally less affordable than the Todd County part of the city. According to the American Community Survey estimates, the median home value in the Wadena County portion is $145,000, which is nearly twice the estimate median of $77,000 in the Todd County part of the community. Lower valued existing homes can represent a very attractive home ownership options for potential home buyers in the larger region. Now, over time, some of the city's older, lower valued homes may have slipped into disrepair. Actions may be needed to clear some of these substandard structures. Programs and assistance that can be offered to improve the quality and condition of older homes will make the affordable stock more appealing to potential home buyers. The 8th recommendation is to utilize and promote programs that assist with home ownership. Approximately 60% of all the households living in Staples are homeowners. Although the city's median home value is probably at or above that $100,000 mark, there are lower valued houses that, like I said before, they're very affordable and attractive to first-time buyers. So the city, area financial institutions, and regional housing agencies should utilize all available assistance programs to promote home ownership. The community could explore the possibility of obtaining specific program set-asides for use in the community. Funding sources for home ownership programs may include the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency, USDA Rural Development, the Greater Minnesota Housing Fund, and the Small Cities Development Program. The 9th recommendation is to consider the development of a purchase/rehab program. So Staples has a stock of older homes, some of which needs repair. Citywide, the estimated median year of construction for all owner-occupancy houses is 1962. As some of the lower valued homes come up for sale, they may not be attractive options for potential home buyers because of the amount of maintenance and repair work that is required. So the city should explore options for the creation of a purchase rehab program for existing houses. A regional housing agency could assist by purchasing a home that needs repair, rehabilitating it, then reselling the home to an eligible buyer. Another option is a program could be developed to provide mortgage funds directly to households for the purchase and rehab of existing substandard homes. The Minnesota Housing Finance Agency, the Small Cities Development Program, and the Federal Home Loan Bank may all be potential funding sources. Moving right along into rental housing recommendations, the first one here is to promote the production of 24 to 30 units of conventional market rate rental housing. So high quality market rate rental housing production has been successful in Staples. As a side note, I can't tell you how many people in the region really talk about Melissa as being one of the best economic developers focused on housing. So way to go Staples and way to go Melissa. The telephone survey completed in September 2020 found a high rate of occupancy in market rate rental housing with an estimated vacancy rate below 2%. Nearly 65% of all rental households had an annual income below $35,000 in 2018. For those households, a monthly gross rent payment of $875 or less is considered to be affordable. So based on the success of recent projects, additional construction of 24 to 30 high quality market rate rental units is recommended over the next 5 years. This would represent approximately 60% of the overall projected demand for rental housing. Different rental styles could be used to meet this goal, including townhomes and apartment buildings. The second recommendation is to promote the development / conversion of at least 16 to 20 affordable market rate rental housing units. So the estimated median household income for renters in Staples was about $25,000 in 2018. Like I said before, when your income is below that $35,000 mark, about $875 per month is needed to avoid a housing cost burden. In addition to creating additional affordable housing, it's probable that some ongoing level of unit replacement is needed in older rental housing stock. The estimated median year of construction for all rental housing in Staples is 1967. A goal of at least 19 to 20 units over the next 5 years would help to add to the affordable rental stock and would potentially replace older rental housing that may be lost. It would be difficult to create very affordable conventional rental units through new construction. Instead, it may be more practical to work on building renovation or conversion projects that can create housing. The third recommendation is to monitor the supply and demand for income restricted rental housing. There are potentially more than 200 households in Staples that will have access to some form of assisted housing in 2021. This may represent up to 28% of all rental opportunities in the city. The 2018 American Community Survey reported that approximately 34% of all rental households in Staples were applying 30% or more of their income for housing, and most of these were applying 35% or more. These households also tended to have lower incomes and would generally be eligible for subsidized housing. So Mill Townhomes represents a significant increase in the affordable options in Staples and more than doubles the supply of moderate rent tax credit unit. Demand for additional moderate rent housing should be monitored until a stable occupancy history is achieved in Mill Townhomes. Although the city could benefit from some additional deep subsidy units, it is highly unlikely that funding could be secured in the future. A more realistic approach is to expand the very affordable housing options and add to the supply of tenant-based vouchers. Another important strategy is to preserve the existing subsidized options. Any very affordable housing that is lost is unlikely to be replaced. The third recommendation is to monitor the demand for specialized senior housing with services. I'm going to keep this slide short. Seniors are well served in Staples, and the city should just monitor demand as it might change over time. Moving forward to housing rehab recommendations. The first is to continue to offer rental housing rehab programs. So much of the conventional market rate rental stock in Staples exists in smaller structures, including single-family houses offered for rental use. So based on the American Community Survey estimates, the median year of construction for all rental housing citywide is 1967. This may include older, lower valued houses that may have been acquired by investors over time and then converted into rental use. To complement the rental licensing program, Staples should continue to prioritize housing rehab of older housing, including rental units. In the future, small cities development program applications should be submitted for targeted older neighborhoods. Other regional housing agencies and funding sources may also be able to assist with the rental housing rehab efforts. The second recommendation is to continue to promote owner-occupied housing rehab. So they did do a windshield survey in Staples. Of the 333 houses viewed and rated in the windshield survey, in the older Todd County portion of Staples, there were 70 houses rated as needing major repair and 34 houses rated as dilapidated. Although houses in the Wadena County portion are generally newer, the citywide estimate median year of construction is 1962. So the city should continue to prioritize the rehab of older housing stock in the community. And the Small Cities Development Program is still the best funding source that can be used for a larger scale rehab effort. Future grant applications are strongly encouraged, along with promotion of other programs and funding sources to assist with the repair of single-family homes. An example is in Sabika, the Rural Housing Preservation Grant Program through USDA Rural Development has been used to rehab 11 owner-occupancy houses. I did write the grant on that as a side note. If this was something Staples ever wanted to consider, I'd be happy to talk with Melissa or Gerald, whoever else, to talk about that process. The third recommendation is to demolish dilapidated structures. In the neighborhood south of Highway 10, there were 34 houses rated as dilapidated and possibly too deteriorated to rehab. In comparative terms with other communities, this represents a large number of substandard structures. The city should continue to work with property owners to demolish or repair these structures. It may also be possible to reuse cleared lots for redevelopment. Within the South Todd County portion of the city, it may be possible to aggregate multiple parcels for an affordable housing redevelopment effort. The fourth recommendation here is to consider programs to improve the condition and quality of mobile homes. So mobile homes in the neighborhood south of Highway 10 were viewed and were generally in poor condition. These homes were scattered on sites and assumed to be real property parcels. Secondary data sources, aka community interviews, indicate that some of the mobile homes in other parts of the cities, including personal property mobile homes and parks, are in need of improvement as well. According to the American Community Survey, all the mobile homes have a date of construction prior to the year 2000, and many were constructed before 1980. Now, unfortunately, addressing the issues created by substandard mobile homes is not easily solved. Some communities have rehabilitated older units, but this is difficult to accomplish because of the type of construction of mobile homes, and it's rarely cost effective. Cities have also established programs that provide for the purchase and removal of substandard mobile home units, provided a newer unit is purchased to replace it. This approach can be expensive, especially if there are many homes in poor condition. The fifth recommendation is just strategies for downtown housing and redevelopment. Keep this slide short. They recognize that there's great potential in downtown Staples and recommend putting together a downtown plan for mixed use. On the last section, thank you so much for bearing with me to this point. Other initiatives and issues. The first is to create a housing plan and coordination among housing agencies. So luckily, the city does have some designated staff to work on housing programs and issues, but they recommend that you continue collaborating with other folks because we're too small not to work together. The second recommendation is to develop community marketing programs and strategies. So often when you think about community marketing, you think of tourism. This is thinking about how can you promote Staples as a place to live and build a house. All right, so that was a lot. Before I open it up for questions, I just want to talk about our next steps. So we are forming a housing task force to actively pursue the recommendations in this study across Wadena County. Melissa has already generously volunteered, or perhaps she was voluntold to be a part of this task force. But we would love to have, if any of the rest of you are interested in serving, please let me know by the end of this week, because I'm going to be working next week to try to organize everyone and set up our first meeting in March 2021, which is this March. All right, I just talked a lot. I'm going to pause for questions.
Any questions for Katie? You go over this so well, Katie, that we...
You're my 9th presentation.
Good job.
Yeah, any questions for Katie? Well, thank you.
Yep, thank you. And if any of you are doing some bedtime reading of the housing study and decide you do have questions, you can always email me or call me later on.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for all your work and
Yep.
information. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Well, that's a lot of information there.
That's it, paper form, huh?
Some we know, I mean, some
Yeah.
that we really know, but it's good to see it all laid out. Maybe get a plan done.
Yeah, I think,
This is it here.
Yep. I started reading it and then I failed.
okay. Well, unless there's any other comments about that, we move on to item number 5, and that's to consider adopting resolution 1833, calling for public hearing on March 23rd to review proposed assessments for the non-payment of delinquent utility bills.
I did ask Gerald on the 5 that are listed, is that just for this year or is that for prior years? And I think you said it was not even the whole year, correct?
Right, we did, I can't remember, Diane or Scott, maybe you can chime in here, but, you know, we did an assessment. I'm thinking maybe it was in November, December already, so. Yeah, there's a couple of big ones on there, hopefully with public hearing being scheduled, there'll be motivation to get them caught up.
So when these are assessed, at what rate do we get that money back? That if they're assessed their taxes, when they pay their taxes, that they
When they
pay it up in full, or they pay 10 cents on
It would all
a
be assessed
dollar?
in 1 year, you know, I mean, it would show up on their property tax bill, the
So,
full amount.
so their taxes would go up by that amount, okay? I didn't know if we got it a piece at a time, a little here, a little there, or I mean, every
No,
year, or if it divided
it
up.
would all be assessed in 1 year. Now, that doesn't mean they're gonna pay it all in 1 year, but then there's interest and penalties that gets tacked onto it.
Right,
So,
but it's not like a street assessment where it's
no, we're not spreading it out over
a year for the
15
next
years.
30 years.
Right.
Yeah.
That can be a tough one.
And our preference obviously is that people pay their bills, you know, so.
Well, and then have they continued to be delinquent after we do this, or we don't know?
Hope not.
Okay,
I'll move resolution 1833.
okay. I have a motion by Ron.
Second it.
Second by John to approve resolution 1833. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. That moves us to item number 6, and that's consider approving engineering agreement with Short Elliott Hendrickson Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $16,600 for the 2021 Airport Crack Seal Project.
I believe everybody has a copy of the whole engineering agreement. Everybody has seen, you know, this format before from SEH. But our 2021 federal project out there basically is to do a complete runway, taxi lane, apron, crack seal. So this is basically our agreement with SEH to put all of those documents together and provide the on-site inspection. So amount not to exceed of $16,600, and I would recommend that we approve the agreement.
So moved.
Okay, a motion by Mary.
Second it.
Second by John. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And that moves us to item 7 and different commission reports, and we have 2 of them. Trish, yep, there you are. Trish is on with the Park and Rec. Oh, maybe.
Frozen.
Yep, I'm here. I'm going to give a quick update. We didn't have a whole lot going on, and I'm going to follow up with some information later this week for you guys. So we met on February 9th. We have an open board seat, which I think I might have filled. I'll find out this week. The community center, the facility schedules, the current ones, were given to the board for review. We talked about the LSS agreement and some of the questions we had. And then I gave an update on the transition into the fee-based facility, which is going very well. Part of that, the letters in the building, because they were rotten. With everything changing over here, I had asked the board to consider changing the name of the facility. So we chatted quite a while about that. And that's what I wanted to follow up with you guys on. Our board is going to talk about it at our next meeting. So I gave some time for everyone to think about different name ideas and possibilities. And I want you guys to be able to put your spin on things too. And then we talked about starting Friends of the Library, a nonprofit group to support some of the activities we have going on. In the parks, I gave a quick update on the storm shelter. We had bid opening. The bids were a little bit higher, so we have a little extra paperwork to do, but it sounds like everything is on track to keep moving. We talked a little bit about Lincoln Park, the new playground equipment, and we will look at different layout options at our next meeting. And that was it.
That was perfectly timed, Doug.
Well, thanks, Trish. Any questions for Trish? All right. Nice and quick.
So
Thank you. Did you have a question?
No, I just was wondering for Gerald, has the legislature done anything as far as looking at our request for
Sales
the
tax?
sales tax?
Not at this point, no. And I've heard nothing from them as far as hearing dates. Diane and I were actually just talking about that here a couple of days ago about, I'm gonna reach out to John Poston just to find out what he's hearing down there. So I don't know if they've gotten to the point where they're doing those hearings yet or not.
Well, yeah, they didn't do any last year, so
Right.
we don't want to get stuck again and have to look at 24.
Well, yeah, depending on how they did it, I think they're gonna try to process them all this year. Otherwise, there is an opportunity to do it next year as well, ahead of the 2022 general election. But
Oh, yeah, I
I
hope-
think, from what I had heard early on, their goal is to get through them all.
Yeah, I think that's important for us to keep that, a progress and get it out in front of the voters so they understand what that means to the community center and to us. And, that not just us will be paying for that. That would be good.
Any other comments or questions regarding community center, park and rec? Okay, thanks, Trish. And that'll move us
Thanks, guys.
to, yep, have a good night. To Planning and Zoning Commission.
Planning and zoning met on Thursday, February 4th. Continued our review, basically of the performance standards section of our zoning ordinance. I won't go through all of this in detail. You can read through it if you have any questions. Give me a call and be happy to answer them. But, we're basically going through all of these different sections, trying to determine, is there anything that's outdated, anything needs to be added, any conflicts, in this case with related to solar, installation of solar panels. We did discover that there was a conflict between the performance standards and the actual zoning language. So we'll get that cleared up. And but otherwise, we basically got through that section. And at about 6:20, decided it was time to go home. So we will continue coming up here in March. So, lots of discussion with the group.
Well, it's not a bad thing, is it?
No, it's, the funny thing about the zoning ordinance, questions about, well, why is that in there? Doug wasn't there at the last meeting. Phil was there, and Bruce Strone, has been on the commission a long time, but, it's kind of one of those, I don't know, why? And, some of it makes sense, other stuff, there was a question about conditional use permits being required for solar, but not for outdoor wood burners. So had a debate about that. But anyway, we'll get through it and then bring the proposed modifications to the council for their consideration.
Sometimes you just gotta go by the rules. It's better to have it and not need it.
There's always that.
Then it's equitable for everybody.
Because sooner or later you will.
One of the things we talked about quite a bit, there's language about, front yard setbacks and, allowing people to have ramps, to install temporary ramps for access to the property. And what if that encroaches, closer to the street, and, having flexibility to work with property owners to make sure that they're able to, continue to access their property, and, balancing that with, treating everybody the same. And, I want to add a deck on the front of my house, and, my neighbor just built a ramp that sticks out just as far. So anyway, that's the joys of zoning administration. So.
Ours would be interesting to put a ramp on to get into our house.
You'd have to have a switchback or two to get to the upper level.
To have one of those dumb waiters.
Yeah.
Elevator.
So anyway, if you read through that and you have any questions, feel free to give me a call.
Okay, all right, well, thanks, Gerald. I guess the rest of the agenda is you.
Unless somebody has open forum.
Oh, I missed that
I
one.
want to skip that.
I'm ready to go home, I don't know, but yeah, so open forum. Anybody, I don't know if there's anybody in Zoom land.
Do you know if anybody's on?
Well, it says there's 7 on the screen there.
Yeah, no, and if people have their, it's kind of an interesting thing with the TV. If they have their camera, their video turned off, it doesn't show up on there. But I can see it all on here. No, but it's Trish, Missy, Melissa, Scott, and Diane. I don't know if there's a way to, as long as the camera is shut off, it doesn't show them. List them, but. And me, I'm the other one, on my laptop here, so.
I guess.
But this is like the 4th meeting in a row that everything actually worked, so I'm pretty happy. I'll start my city administrator's report with that, but.
All right. Well, if there's no open forum, then we'll move to COVID update and then into city administrators update.
Okay, just kind of jump in. Kind of status quo. Governor a week or so ago did make some modifications. I think to restaurant, bar, gym capacities, not necessarily modifying the percent or distance or number of people at tables, that kind of thing. So we're basically in about the same position that we were, like we, maybe have a few more people in those types of spaces. We were talking a little bit about, some of the COVID stuff at EDA earlier tonight, and kind of interestingly, just some of the cases that are now popping up in school districts around the area, primarily sports related as we understand it, and the quarantine requirements that get triggered. And I think, Mark, did you concur that it was Crosby that had 90 out that one day, or was it? Yeah, you know, they had, I think, it might have been last Tuesday, a week ago today, they had 90 students that were out. Not because they tested positive, because there was exposure to somebody that did, but. So it's just kind of one of those deals, you know, the ripple effects of it, but, you know, for the most part, I think everybody's fairly optimistic. The trend is downward and more people are getting vaccinated and.
If we're able to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
We're so
yeah.
busy trying to get them to all these other ancillary places and not the ones that are already set up and doing a good job of it.
Yeah, and I don't know what the timeline is for any of the other vaccines to actually be
Well, they said that
approved.
tonight on the news that Johnson & Johnson, they thought was within a week to 10 days of the preliminary approval. But then they also said that they didn't know how long lasting the Moderna and Pfizer ones are gonna be. So, I don't know.
They also aren't sure how long you're immune if you've had it. So we'll see, but
Yeah, I'm hitting that 90-day period.
I'm a couple weeks out. But it has been a good feeling, actually. It's been liberating to be in that 90-day immunity. Jumping down to city administrator's report, tomorrow night at 7, the township fire meetings, we're going to be doing it in here. Normally we would do it up at the fire hall, but out in the garage area, it's a little bit noisy, and we want to give the township this opportunity to zoom in if they do want to. So, but it'll be up here. If you're interested in attending via Zoom, you're welcome to, or show up here and we'll figure out seating arrangements. So it's not a contract year. The 3-year contract is up next year. So I don't, at this point, I only know of 3 people that are planning to be here. But
Do we have the Zoom?
probably not for that meeting, but if you're interested, let me know.
If you think of it, can you?
Yeah.
Try to get on. I don't know if maybe I'll come up, but
Okay.
Zoom.
Okay. Had department head meeting here this morning. Our list of projects for the spring and summer is long and growing. And, you know, we've got a few items, you know, things like, you know, Wi-Fi and some of the cameras out at the airport that we've been able to get done already this year. But I don't know if it's COVID and supply chain or what, but everything seems to take a lot longer getting stuff than I feel it should. But
Into my world.
yeah.
So are we still planning a citywide cleanup or?
Well, that is one thing that we did talk about. We have our monthly construction meeting tomorrow, and we're going to bring that up to the contractors. And, you know, I think by the time we get to end of May, June, you know, I'm hopeful that there won't be any issues with, you know, traffic conflicts, you know, down by the street shop. The other thing we talked about is possibility, if they're concerned about that, you know, we do it somewhere else. You know, we can set up to do that just about anywhere. But I will reach out to SW Recycling along Prairie Sanitation again. I don't think that they're gonna, you know, not want to do it this year like it was last year. You know, last year the whole COVID thing was pretty new and people were, you know, really quite skittish about it. So, and then the other thing that was brought up was trying to get somebody to do hazardous waste collection at the same time, whether it was Todd or Wadena County. Melissa brought that up. I don't know from what meeting that came from, but it's a good idea. So we can probably work with the 2 counties to make that happen so everybody can get rid of the old, you know, paint and, you know, fertilizer and everything, you know, whatever they have.
Not have to haul it till Long Prairie or,
Yeah, and,
Wadena
you know, a lot of times they only take that a couple of times a year.
No, they take, Burrville takes it from, I think, May to September.
Is it? So it doesn't freeze?
Yeah, and it's free. You just bring it there, and drop it off. It doesn't cost.
Paint?
anything.
You can, yeah, you, both Ace and myself, you can drop paint off too. That's we're both dropping.
But yeah, other
Anytime
stuff,
and it's
you know,
free.
Like that half jug of muriatic acid.
Yeah, that's the stuff that you,
A little of that.
Oil recycling center in
In
town?
Motley, they do.
There is, okay.
Yeah, we missed the boat on that one.
For what now?
Oil recycling. By the city garage in Motley.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I know that Scott's will take it. I think Ideal Construction takes it too. I dropped a bunch off with Jeff. They burn it.
Yeah, they got one of those east, what is it, east something or oil recycling in Motley. They got one of those big barrels that
Oh.
we talked about one time.
So yeah, the plan is to have it.
okay,
So, assuming that our service providers are on board, so. Other than that, Chris and I went to the Fire Department Relief Association annual meeting. I guess that's 2 weeks ago.
yeah, it'll be 2 weeks Thursday.
Yeah, so,
Is the police department going to be doing cleanup notices for the residents going around doing inspections? Is that gonna happen prior to the
Oh, yeah.
Bay cleanup?
yep. And there's been ongoing ones, but we'll
I mean,
blanket,
there's a lot
we'll
of
blanket
yards that
everything.
need it.
Yeah,
It's bad.
we'll blanket everything. Something just popped into my head and it immediately left. They're saying about mental health counseling earlier. I can't remember, what I just thought of, that it was very important too. So I might have to fill you in a couple weeks if I remember, but, Valley View. Just want to bring people up to speed. I don't know if everybody got an email from the guy as far as high-speed internet up in Valley View neighborhood. I wasn't aware that they didn't have high-speed up there until this guy reached out to us. But Melissa and I did meet with West Central Telephone. They're taking a look at it and going to do some engineering and then also do surveys about extending fiber. But also in the meantime, with a little bit of investigative work by Joel, Charter has infrastructure out there. They've got PEDs, there's wire in the PEDs, waiting to find out from them what the roadblock would be to, to terminate all those wires and provide internet, phone, and cable TV to all 7 of those houses up there. So I think it's important that we have that up there. Like we were saying before, that's, if we're gonna have residential development up there, that's, that's a non-negotiable type of thing for most people these days. So hopefully we'll find out tomorrow, and they provide their minimum service right now. Charter is 200 meg down. So that is pretty good compared to, I think we were talking back when we were talking with CTC, I don't know how many years ago is that, probably 15 years
Yeah,
ago
at
now,
least.
about doing fiber to the premise. At that time, Charter could maybe do 20, but with a fiber backbone and then also updated equipment, they're able to push 200. So,
is Charter Spectrum?
yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, anyway, so just so you know, we're on that, and we'll hopefully have a solution for the people up there shortly. That's all I have. Unless there's questions.
Question for Gerald?
Move for adjournment?
Motion by Ron to adjourn. Second by Mary. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks, everybody.
I don't think I've ever gotten a second before.
Well, John gave me a